Hey, Nicole Huntsman, your astrologer from moderncosmic.com. On this video series, we're going to talk about the South Node of the Moon. And in particular, we're going to look at how the South Node holds some secrets or some perhaps illumination about the past relationship information you're bringing forward with this person. Now, this could be from one life, it could be from multiple lives. It's more the themes that you're bringing forward, okay? So as we look at the South Node, many times we will see a story unfold, but mainly really focus on the themes, the thematic elements. Now, the way you're going to do this, if you're unsure of how to find the South Node, what you're going to do first, go to astro.com. You need to draw up a Davison chart. This is what we're going to use for this exercise. You can use a composite, but I prefer the Davison. The Davison chart is simply a chart that takes the midpoint of your birth dates, it's that date in the middle, your birth times, the time in the middle, and the actual locations, the latitude and longitude between the two locations you were born. So this is its own little chart, and this is an actual chart that happened on a day in history at an actual place. Might be like a farm field out in the middle of Idaho, but whatever, it's an actual place. And then you can take that chart and you can do progressions, and you can do solar arcs, and you can do solar returns, etc., with this. So this chart shows you the relationship's purpose. And in that purpose, it shows you the past, things that have been brought forward from the past, and the future, what the point is. Why are you together in this life? For what purpose? And it shows you how this will unfold. Very helpful, because you can then see areas where you are blocked as a couple and areas where you excel. And also, we're headed in this direction, but maybe we should be headed in this direction. Maybe we're trying to make this into a marriage, but maybe we're just supposed to be friends, or etc. Now, with the South Node, also when you're drawing up that chart, I forgot to mention, click on the box that says descending node. Use descending node, okay? That will allow this to pop up on the chart. Otherwise, it's just going to be exactly opposite the North Node. The North Node looks kind of like a little horseshoe. It's like a little upside down horseshoe, as someone mentioned in a comment on the video earlier. With your South Node, make a note. It's easiest if you write it down, if that way you can, or else this can get kind of confusing. So first write down the zodiac sign that the South Node is in, okay? Then write down the house placement. Okay. Then you're going to look at the ruler of the zodiac sign of that South Node and the ruler of the natural ruler of the house that this South Node is falling into. All right. Find those, locate those two planets, and you can do the same thing with those planets. But make a note of each time you move. Let's say the ruler of the South Node is the moon. Go to the moon, look at the zodiac sign that it's in. Let's say it's in Aries. Okay, let's say it's in the third house or something. Make a note of that, and then move on to Mars and where it's located. And you can just keep doing this until you hit a dead end, like you return to a planet you've already looked at. Now, with this information, this gives you a full arsenal of forensic data that you can then create a picture with that can tell you a little bit of backstory. If you've got a relationship too, by the way, look at the South Node and how it relates to each individual's chart. Very important. South Node is, it's the theme. It's the theme from the past that's being brought forward. And many times, if this is a significant relationship, you're going to see it relating to each person's chart, okay? In particular, sun, moon, angles, or the angular houses. Those are really important. As well as, it can be the personal planets too, but really you want to see the luminaries of one person's chart and the South Node, or the ruler of the South Node of the relationship, talking to each other, of both people's charts. I'm sorry, I'm being confusing. Okay, now we're going to go on. Each video, I'm going to just talk about each of the zodiac signs, the South Node. We'll talk about the key themes. We'll talk about what that relationship looked like thematically, and then the lessons that are to be brought forward in this relationship that relate to the North Node. Okay? And let me know if you have questions. All right, on to the South Nodes through the zodiac. We've got a Taurus. We have a Taurus South Node. Now, Taurus is very earthy. So Taurus or second house South Node placement. This tells us your past life key themes were manifesting material security. I'm going to use this archetype. It makes me think of Little House on the Prairie and of Charles and, what was her name? Caroline, right? that's like a Taurus relationship. Now, the themes we're going to see here, they're definitely are agricultural themes. You don't have to have been farmers, but there's something about using the resources in your surroundings and the environment around you to create security, material security. So farming is a very obvious example of that. There is this element of being close to the earth. There's an element of being good with the resources you have at hand and then manifesting whatever it is you're needing to manifest in a very practical way. Now with Taurus, you can have there can be sort of a rigid life structure, whether you've got a couple where they're living through roles that are very traditional and kind of clearly defined and concrete, or if you've got a couple that is in a society that's got a rigidity to it, okay? Ultimately though, Taurus is interested in harmony, peace, security, and that kind of relationship would be one where they can get stuck in patterns and in roles where kind of no one's growing because that then threatens the security of the relationship. And so there can be this, if one of the partners starts expanding and growing, it can cause a sense of insecurity on behalf of the other partner or the partnership itself. So that's something that can be brought forward into this current space, okay? Now, there can also be themes of possibly of devestature, so, maybe losing your farm, losing the farm, having a drought, not being able to take care of the animals or the crops that you have. I'm using this as metaphor, you understand. But this idea of maybe even losing your wealth, losing your possessions, et cetera, et cetera. Many things that you can lose, but they're like the material, how that material goods give us a sense of safety and security, and having those stripped from you. Another thing that can happen, because if you consider that this is a North Node Scorpio, you can also, with a Taurus South Node, have issues of losing each other, losing the partner. And with that, you've got one partner who's left alone, who has to, through their dedication, commitment, scrappiness, they have to survive. And they've got to make do with what they have. And then if you bring that forward, now let's talk about the lessons to be learned and the lessons that we brought forward. This is why with a Scorpio North Node, these are those relationships that have an intensity to them. There is, even if it was quite a peaceful Taurus past life, there were still themes with Taurus of hoarding or of holding on to things and not letting go of them, not allowing kind of that flow of energy materially. So maybe even being, they could have been a couple that was a little bit possessive of their goods. Maybe they didn't share as much as they could have, that kind of thing. Now you bring it forward into this life, you can have issues of a fear that's very unconscious of losing the partner. So even, as I said, if there had been the death of one of the partners, then in this life there's that fear that I'm going to again be separated from you physically. And so through that fear, there's a lot of powerful work that can be done there, because you can learn how to let go. Letting go is very important for expansion, because really you don't possess anyone or anything. Everything is impermanent. So that's quite a Scorpio theme to be learned. Look at the house placement of the North Node and of course of the South Node. But as far as the North Node, it will show you the purpose in this life, what it is you're supposed to transform, what it is you're supposed to kind of reinvent, because it needs to be different than it was in that past life. Let me see, looking at my notes here, what else did I say? Oh, yes, of course. Surrender is a big, huge, letting go, surrendering to the unknowable, and being okay with just having faith. It's one of these things where you can have a lot of back and forth, in and out with these kinds of relationships. Scorpio, it does have a tendency to dramatically transform the individuals. I mean, Scorpio, once you've done Scorpio, North Node stuff in a relationship, or a relationship that's very Plutonic, has a lot of Pluto or Scorpio themes in the actual Davison, it's one where the two willpowers of the two people will kind of rub up against one another. And ultimately, it's for both of them to learn how to step into a place of generosity of spirit and just to, let things flow, let each other go, realize you have possession over nothing and that you will die, but also that you're going to come back. So it's like, let go of all of it. That's very Scorpio North Node lesson to be learned, just to surrender. And that can be fun. Okay. All right, thanks for watching. If you want a reading, come over to my website and you can get on the schedule. Other than that, have a fantastic day. All right, bye-bye.